Hi there, welcome to the second video on exam success for the City & Guilds 2382. So this is questions 11 through 20 in your sample paper in your folder, guys. Remember, read the question, read the answer. If you know the answer, answer it and move on. If you're 80% sure, answer it, move on. Before you move on, flag it, okay? Remember, if you know how to find the answer, you'll find the answer by looking at the keywords in the question, or sometimes even in the answers to find your answer route, okay? If you have wasted 2 minutes of your time and you're still no closer to answering it, answer the question to the best of your ability, flag it, and then move on. Paper 1, so questions 11 through 20. Remember, pause this as we run through, folks, so that you can go and find the information in your index as well. So question 11, the maximum earth fault loop impedance of 0.4 seconds or 5 seconds disconnection time with a U0, that's a nominal voltage of 230 volts, for a BSEN 60898 type C 32 amp circuit breaker is which of the following? And you've got a list of earth fault loop impedances there. So you're looking for earth fault loop impedance. Okay, so which one of these values here meets the requirements for automatic disconnection of the supply? Now, in the question, there are some things that might potentially be missing for this. It doesn't identify whether it's a TN, a TT, an IT, or a reduced low voltage system. So we're going to always assume, if they don't say otherwise, we're going to assume it's a TN system. As well as that, because it's a type C circuit breaker, the operating current for 0.4 and 0.5 of a second for a type C circuit breaker is the same value. So there's no other information required other than the fact that it's a type C circuit breaker, okay? Depending on if it was a type D MCB or a fuse, then you would need to know more information about the circuit, okay? To identify that disconnection time. So for us, we're going to go into the index and the earth fault loop impedance, and we're going to have a read down. You'll see there the third point down there, it says for automatic disconnection for fault protection, and in general it takes us to 411.4. Okay, so 411.4, that's where we're going, and when we get to 411.4, we should then find table 41.3, which is the maximum earth fault loop impedance values for MCBs. So we have a 32 amp type C MCB, so the type C MCB, and we've got 0.68 of an ohm there, okay. Question 12, the maximum earth fault loop impedance for 5 seconds disconnection, so we've got a 5-second time, U0 of 230 volts for a BS88-2 160 amp fuses, which of the following? And again, we've got our maximum earth fault loop impedance values. So which one of these meets the requirements for ADS? And again, in the earth fault loop impedance for automatic disconnection for fault protection, 411.4. Takes us to the section 411.4, and we would then have table 41.2 for the 0.4 of a second disconnection and 41.4 for the 5-second disconnection, and this is the one that we're going to use. And we've got the 160 ampere device, gives us a 0.27 of an ohm maximum earth fault loop impedance. Question 13. Where a lid of or an insulating enclosure can be opened without the use of a tool or key, and conductive parts are accessible if the lid or door is open, an insulating barrier should be provided with a minimum degree of protection for which of the following? And we've got a list of IP ratings there, okay? So we're going to barriers and enclosures, and we're looking for lots of information about doors being opened, keys and tools, having to be used, or not be used in this case, and find some IP ratings. So into barriers, if you down to removal or opening of, we're looking at 41624. And if you go to 41624, you'll see there's this big long regulation where it talks about gaining access to enclosures, having to have use a Kira tool or the supply being isolated, or having intermediate barriers, which needs IPXXB, IP2X, and you can only gain access by using a Kira tool to remove that intermediate barrier. So there's our answer there. Question 14. The following symbol is intended to inform equipment installers and operators that the equipment should, well, quite clearly we have an earth symbol with a big X through it, so not be connected to earth, answer C there, okay. You would find that in 412 for double reinforced insulation, okay. Question 15. Insulation and or barriers or enclosures must be provided for self or PELV circuits if the equipment is immersed or if the nominal voltage exceeds which of the following. So we're looking at insulation and or barriers and enclosures, but in particular for self systems, and we're looking to find out about this voltage levels, these voltage levels. So when we get to self or PELV systems, we're looking for barriers or enclosures. We're also looking to see if the equipment is immersed, and we're looking for voltages. So if we get into separated extra low voltage, we then have down here in separated extra low voltage systems, we've got nominal voltage, 41421 and 41445, okay? Sorry, 4142.1, not 0.1, section 1. So remember, we're looking for the immersion and different voltage levels. So 4142.1 just tells you there it's the upper limit, shouldn't exceed the upper limit of voltage band 1. Okay, so that's 50 volts AC, 120 volts DC. So that's an answer there. However, there is no information about immersion or insulation of live parts and barriers or enclosures. So we'll look at 41445. So here we have 41445. The normal voltage exceeds 25 volts AC or 60 volts DC, or if the equipment is immersed, basic protection shall be provided for self or PELV circuits by insulation, barriers and enclosures. So there you go, there's our answer there, 25 volts, 60 volts DC. Okay. Question 16. To provide additional protection, an RCD must have which of the following characteristics? A rated residual current of 30 milliamps operating in 200 milliseconds when tested at 150 milliamps, rated residual current of 300 milliamps to operate in 40 milliseconds when tested at 150 milliamps, rated residual current of 30 milliamps and operating 200 milliseconds when tested at 30 milliamps, or same again, but this time disconnecting in 300 milliseconds. Well, the fact it says additional protection for the RCD there, then we know that an RCD, when it maxes out, its maximum trip rating, should I say, is 30 milliamps. So that straight away we can get rid of this answer B, okay? But we're looking at how do we verify whether or not that RCD is operational. Well, you can see there it's talking about when it's tested. So we're looking at testing of RCDs, okay? I actually own one of these. So we're getting additional protection, and we're looking at the verification of effectiveness of the measures, okay? It takes us to 643.8. 643.8, additional protection, verification of effectiveness, and it gives you the ramble through about the requirements for the RCD testing. But in the note there, you'll see there we have, regardless of the RCD type, effectiveness is deemed to have been verified where an RCD disconnects the time stated below with an alternating current. So that's on the AC setting, test at a rated residual operating current of I delta N. So that if it's additional protection, then it maxes out at 30 milliamps. So tested at 30 milliamp RCD, tested at 30 milliamps, and it's got to trip out within 300 milliseconds. Okay. That's all the threes. Question 17. An AC circuit is protected by a 45 amp BS88-3 fuse, and supplementary bonding may be a requirement. In relation to the accessible exposed conductive parts of this circuit and the extraneous conductive parts, what would be the maximum resistance that would determine the requirement for supplementary equipotential bonding? So we're going to look at supplementary bonding. keeping a wee eye on this 45 amp BS 88-3 fuse, and we're going to try and work out what the maximum resistance is we can have between, for example, a cooker and a sink. So you might have a cooker 45 amp fuse in front of this cooker next to a metal sink. All right. So we go to supplementary protective equipotential bonding, and we have that additional protection by it. Takes us to 415.2. If you look in 415.2, you'll see the second regulation 41522 gives us this regulation about the maximum resistances that we can have. So for AC systems, we use 50 volts divided by IA, and DC systems we use 120 volts. So what is IA? Well, IA is the operating current in amperes. For RCDs, we would use, for example, if it was for additional protection, we would use the 30 milliamps, so we'd use 0.03 of an ampere, whereas we have a fuse, so we're going to use the 5-second operating current, and we find that in Appendix 3. Okay, so in Appendix 3, fortunately enough, the first fuse that we have is a BS88-3 fuse. So we're going to go down to the 45 amp fuse and shoot across to the 5-second operating current. That gives us 220 amperes. So we use the 220 amperes in our calculation. 50 volts divided by 220 gives us a maximum resistance of 0.23 ohms. So if you take your continuity tester out and you test between that cooker and the sink, it should give you a value less than 0.23 of an ohm. Okay, if it gives you more, you need to bond it. Question 18, which of the following provisions for providing basic protection can only be used in installations which are controlled or supervised by a skilled person? So we're looking at basic protection, we're looking at controlled and supervised by skilled persons. So in here for basic protection, we have, and for a wee, there's a wee one down here, obstacles for only where controlled or supervised. Do you see that? Okay, so gives us basic protection, basic insulation, barriers or enclosures. Yeah, there's non-conducting location, but there's a wee bit there, obstacles for only where controlled by. So we're going to go to 4171 and 2. And you'll see here 4171 and 2 there. Obstacles in place and out of reach got to be controlled or supervised by skilled persons. Question 19, what is the maximum temperature for an accessible metallic handheld part within arm's reach? So we are looking for temperature maximums here. We're looking to protect against burns. Okay, so there's a couple of ways in which we can find this. You could go into burns, protection against, so you'll see it takes us to section 423, or you could go to protection against burns, again, takes us to section 423, or you could go to, for example, look at equipment, and if you see here fixed equipment, we are looking at guarding against burns, 423.1, or you could go to temperature limits, yeah, and we've got protection against burns, and again taking this to section 423. So there's multiple ways in which you can find the answer for this. And when you get into section 423 there, you'll see there a handheld part, metallic, maximum temperature is 55 degrees C in the table. Okay. Question 20, the code relating to the characteristic manufacture, process and storage of flammable materials, including the presence of dust, is which of the following? So we've got a list of these codes here. Those are external influence codes. External influences, we find them in Appendix 5. Okay. If you look at the list in Appendix 5, it just gives you no risk, fire risk, explosion risk, contamination risk. We don't know which one of these is actually applicable, whereas if you then look in and you look at that fire risk, you'll see that it's got that manufacture, process or storage of flammable materials, including the presence of dust. So there's your answer there. Okay, so that's us. Again, another run through 10 questions. We'll be following this up with the next 10 questions in your sample paper. So remember, make sure you write your answer route down, and if there's any issues, you know how to get in touch with me.